I know you also wrote an article about kind of a common theme between all of the draft picks. Take us through that, and what was that theme?
Yeah, size was the theme to me. It seemed like size really mattered in this draft class for the Browns, kind of, regardless. I think in this case, I think it's okay to read between the lines a little bit, right? Because, of course, Andrew Berry is kind of known for not saying too much. He even joked about that with us in his pre-draft press conference a couple weeks ago. So he's always going to kind of hedge what he says. Like, yes, they have size, but they're really good at X, Y, and Z. And in this case, that was they still had speed or some element of speed, whatever that meant for their position. But I do think you can't ignore the common denominator in at least the first four draft picks, because it just seemed like they gravitated toward that. And I think that is what they needed. And especially you look at a guy like Siaki Ika, to me, I just said it kind of reinforced, like they bring in Dalvin Tomlinson, who is much, much bigger than any of the defensive tackles that the Browns had on their roster last year. But then to go out and get a second guy that is about 10 pounds heavier than Dalvin Tomlinson really kind of nailed it for me. Like, okay, they're looking for a specific thing here. And even Cedric Tillman, at receiver, he's 6'3", 213. He's got maybe like an inch and about 10 pounds on Donovan Peoples-Jones, who was the biggest receiver that the Browns had last year. I think that's interesting. He really talked about wanting to block. And then DeJuan Jones, who is obviously massive. You hear guys like Dan Saganey, who scouts for a living for the Browns, say that it's the biggest human being that he's ever seen. Andrew Berry says it's like having clay that they can mold in their hands, because he's 6'8", 259 officially on the Browns roster. And then Isaiah McGuire, too. It's like you look at a D end, he's 6'4", 268. So he's about Alex right size. And last year when Alex came in, we were like, oh, wow, he's pretty big. And he's got some long arms that can be put to use. So I think you just kind of saw them with those first four picks. Intentionally or not, size is the common denominator in how big these guys are for their respective positions.
Yeah, and I'm with you. They're going to not admit to that, but they probably needed to get bigger at the positions they did.